Believe me, you ain't seen it.
Steve Jobs famously said, "You can only connect the dots looking backwards. Oftentimes, we do things that make complete sense only years or even decades later." This was precisely the case with Apple's iPhone. Back in January 2007, when Steve Jobs unveiled the revolutionary product to the whole world, even the most optimistic forecaster would not have predicted the amount of impact that little pocket computer was going to have on the whole world. No one expected smartphones to so quickly penetrate the nooks and corners of the globe. Fast forward 6 years, in 2013, another such watershed moment happened in the world of technology, yet most of us hardly notice it. Can you guess what moment is being referred to here? Welcome back to Luxury Express. In today's video, we're going to talk about Asia's youngest tech billionaire who is spearheading the drone revolution, Frank Wang, and whose estimated net worth, according to Forbes, is $4.8 billion. If you're new to the channel, make sure to click the subscribe button for more videos like these, and let us know in the comment section below if you knew about the CEO of DJI beforehand. Frank Wang's early life. Frank Wang is one of those super rich and famous personalities we know so little about. He has made very few public appearances, and there are only a handful of his photos circulating on the internet, the most famous of which features him donning a baseball cap. All that we know about Wang is that he was born in 1980 to a small business owner mother and an engineer father at a place called Hangzhou in the People's Republic of China. His interest in flying objects began quite at an early age. He was particularly captivated by a red helicopter that was featured in one of the comic books he used to read as a kid. He also fantasized about a copter that could follow him around and take pictures of him, even though the concept of a camera was alien to him at that age. Growing up, he developed a healthy hobby of reading about model airplanes. His longtime dream of owning a remote-controlled helicopter came to fruition at the age of 16 when his parents gifted it to him for scoring high marks in an examination. Unfortunately, his excitement was short-lived as he promptly crashed the helicopter. But without wallowing in grief like any typical teenager would, Wang jumped into action. He ordered parts, waited for months for them to arrive from Hong Kong, and repaired it himself. Frank Wang's education. Wang had always wanted to study in one of the top American universities, with MIT and Stanford being his top choices, but his average grades prevented him from landing at the educational destination of his choice. Eventually, he ended up studying electronic engineering at Hong Kong's University of Science and Technology. As fate would have it, it was here that he found wings to fly, both literally and figuratively. During his final group project, he built a helicopter flight control system. Though the hovering function ultimately failed right before the presentation, his robotics professor took notice of him and made him enlist in the school's graduate program. He'd later go on to be one of the earliest investors in his students' then startup enterprise, DJI, and later become its chairman. The early days of DJI. We all know that Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook from his dorm room, but he wasn't the only soon-to-be billionaire to do so. Frank Wang too started DJI out of his dorm room, where he built prototypes of flight controllers. DJI is an abbreviation for Daijang Innovations and roughly translates to Great Frontier Innovation. In 2006, he and two of his classmates moved to Shenzhen, the Silicon Valley of China. Initially, Wang funded the venture, which was mostly selling components for DIY drones using what remained of his university scholarship. As the company began to grow, Wang started recruiting new staff members. In those early years, he himself admits to have underestimated the drone market. Having set modest expectations, he merely wanted to make the product and feed the few people who were dependent on him. But things changed soon enough. Once Wang comprehended the true potential of his company, he started planning big. However, his outspoken temperament and unrelenting demand for perfection made the initial years of DJI really difficult. In spite of all this, DJI continued to endure, in large part thanks to Wang's family friend, Lul D, who invested about $90,000 in late 2006. This made him one of the largest shareholders in the company, with stakes valued at over $1 billion today. In 2010, Wang's best friend and trusted confidant, Swift Ziyajie, also came on board the growing team. He sold his apartment to invest in DJI, and guess what? His shares too are estimated at way more than $1 billion today. Thus, despite having a reputation of being not so much of a people's person, Wang did have, and still continues to have, a close circle of well-wishers always around him. The first real breakthrough. Though Frank Wang started DJI in 2006, his first real breakthrough came only in 2013. This was after he met his future business partner turned adversary, Colin Gwynn. Gwynn, an aerial cinematography enthusiast, was looking for a way to shoot stabilized footage from drones, and as so it happened, Frank Wang was working on a similar project as well. Getting wind of this, Gwynn reached out to Wang and the two hit it off immediately. Things went really well between them, at least at the beginning. Frank Wang formed DJI North America in Austin, Texas and put Gwynn in charge, giving him 48% stake in the American subsidiary. Sensing a threat from growing competition, most of whom were vicious copycats, Wang decided to cement his company's position as the leader of the entry-level drone market. Till 2013, drones, also called unmanned aerial vehicles, had to be assembled from separately purchased parts, which included both hardware and software. This was especially the case if you were a hobbyist without deep enough pockets to afford custom-made drones. This status quo changed in the year 2013, all thanks to Frank Wang. DJI's first commercial drone, Phantom 1, was released early that year and took the worldwide market by storm. It was the first ever off-the-shelf commercial drone ever made, and people couldn't get enough of it. The white quadcopter officially cemented Frank Wang's position as the unreachable kingpin of the commercial drone market. From then to now, DJI has maintained its supremacy, accounting for more than 75% of all the commercial drones ever sold, making it the first Chinese company to lead a global tech revolution. The major factor that contributed to Phantom 1's mammoth success, apart from its extremely affordable pricing and ready-to-fly user-friendly design, was its inbuilt GPS feature. This meant, for the first time, a copter would hover over a particular place without the flyer's constant maneuvering. Another added advantage was that, when the battery began to run low, Phantom 1 could return back all day by itself to the place of takeoff. Groundbreaking innovation indeed. On second thought, the ground did not really break on landing. I know, bad joke. The rivalry with 3D Robotics and GoPro. After the launch of Phantom 1, Colin Gwynn went ahead boasting that he was the CEO of DJI and he was the creative genius behind the flying robot. This naturally didn't bode well with Wang, who tried to buy out Gwynn's share in the company, but the latter went to court. A legal battle ensued, and eventually a deal was struck outside of court. Gwynn and his employees left DJI and joined 3D Robotics, a rival drone company. They came with the promise of being an android to DJI's Apple, as the latter's designs were open source. But that rivalry was short-lived. The even greater success of Phantom 2 in 2015 made 3D Robotics entirely abandon the drone market and shift its focus elsewhere. GoPro, on the other hand, proved to be a more formidable foe. Drone Wars. GoPro is for action cameras, what DJI is for drones. Initially, the relationship between the two respective monopolies really did go well. One thing that marks Phantom 1 apart from all of its successors, albeit to its disadvantage, is that it didn't come along with an inbuilt camcorder. Consequently, most of the customers had to strip GoPro cameras to their newly purchased Phantom 1 in order to collect aerial footage. This was okay with Frank Wang until it was not. The friction between DJI and GoPro was also a result of one of Gwyn's doings. Since Phantom 1 was mostly used in conjunction with GoPro cameras, Gwyn, who was then still in charge of DJI North America, hastily struck a deal with GoPro to make a collaborated product. However, Frank Wang didn't like the idea of DJI being in the shadow of any other company or being labeled as merely original equipment manufacturers. This led him to back off from the deal. Immediately, a Cold War broke out between the two tech giants. DJI started launching the Phantom series drones with inbuilt cameras. For their part, GoPro started to secretly work on their own UAV. In 2016, GoPro's foldable drone, Karma, was unveiled to the world. Within days, DJI introduced the Mavic quadcopters, their own foldable drone. Though both devices were similarly priced, DJI came out as the clear winners. In fact, DJI's victory was so definitive that GoPro too exited the drone market soon after. As if to add insult to injury, Frank Wang's DJI in 2019 made headway into the action camera market with his Osmo Action. Though it's not going to be easy to dethrone GoPro on their own turf, it will be interesting to see what Frank Wang and his company has in store for us. The future of Frank and DJI. In addition to conquering the consumer drone market, DJI has also made drones for specialized purposes like agriculture, search and rescue, government surveillance, and industrial inspection. Frank Wang's push for continuous innovation and his perfectionist temperament has made each new DJI drone better than the former, either in speed, performance, flight time, camera quality, objective avoidance technology, GEO fencing capability, or size reduction. Wang has also widened the horizon for DJI's technological ecosystem by branching out into several adjacent markets via products like the Osmo camcorders, RoboMaster educational robots, and DJI FPV goggles. Despite all this success, Frank Wang knows that there are still avenues to conquer even in the drone industry. For instance, though DJI has launched a separate model, the Inspire series drones, targeted at the filmmaking industry, they are yet to make serious progress there. Drones became really famous in Hollywood after major franchises like James Bond, Harry Potter, and the MCU popularized them by incorporating drone footage and their cinematography. Even the legendary filmmaker Martin Scorsese experimented with drones in the Leonardo DiCaprio starrer Wolf of Wall Street. Yet, to this day, only companies like XM2, which make custom drones for filmmaking, dominate that market, so it will be really a challenge for Frank Wang and DJI to make serious headway there. Another worry for Frank Wang is the legitimate privacy and safety concerns caused by UAVs and the consequent legal restrictions placed on flying drones. There have been many instances when explosives have been strapped to drones and deployed into enemy territory, but Frank Wang doesn't seem to be discouraged by all of this. Neither should he be. With business stalwarts like Jeff Bezos envisioning a world with automated delivery systems facilitated by UAVs, the future does seem to hold even more possibilities for those in that industry, and Frank Wang aims to continue spearheading the drone revolution, for he believes that not even 1% of the real potential of drones have been realized. This wraps up today's video. What do you think of the man whose door sign reads, "Those with brains only do not bring in emotions"? And what other billionaires would you like to see a documentary on? Share with us your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed today's content, check out this related video to see more. Until next time.